my birthday month, and that means it's time to review my year and share the lessons I learned from being here on Earth for another year. Welcome to Explore Your Enthusiasm with me, Swiger. Each year on my birthday, I share a little bit of my birthday review process. So just like I do at the new year, I look at what was great, what wasn't, and what lessons is my life teaching me. As opposed to the new year posts and reviews, this is a little more lifey, like what's been going on with my whole life. And to do this birthday review, I'm using the questions that are found in my book, Map Your Business. So Map Your Business has questions each month. They're not dated, so you can start whenever you want. They have questions every month for 12 months, and then every 3 months, a map making guide, so you can make a plan for your next quarter. So it's mid-June, the new quarter starts in July. If you want to start the second half of your year with a plan and review regularly to figure out the lessons that your business is teaching you, you can check it out on Amazon. I've got the link in the show notes directly to the book on Amazon. You can also find it at taraswiger.com/map. It's backordered on my website. I'm waiting to get another box in, but you can get it signed if you buy it from my website, or you can get it immediately if you get it on Amazon. It's called Map Your Business. In the show notes, I have a link to Map Your Business. I also have a link to the transcript. So if you want to find the links to everything I talk about, I've also linked up in the show notes all of my past birthday posts. They go back 9 years. So this is the 10th birthday review post I have done. That's crazy to me because I started doing this way back when I was just blogging on my yarn website at Blonde Chicken Boutique. So you can find the links to all 10 of my birthday review posts at taraswiger.com/podcast211. I gotta tell you, I went back and I read through last year's transcript, and it was exactly what I needed to hear. Like the lessons that I said I had learned at my last birthday were the lessons I needed to remind myself of this birthday. I just really needed to rehear them. So last year was a good one. That was episode 160 if you want to go back and listen to it. So this year has had some ups and some downs. It involved a lot of travel. It was time spent with family and students I love, which was absolutely the best part. It involved a lot of extroverting and teaching live classes and pushing myself way out of my comfort zone, which was good for me. It also involved an inordinate amount of failures. So let's dive into the lessons that we learned from my challenging 35th year. I'm going to share all those failures with you. So the first lesson of my 35th year is don't be afraid to try. Failure never hurts as bad as you think it's going to, and failure is only data. That's like 3 lessons, but all around the same topic. So you hear me say all the time, your business is an experiment. It's your experiment. You can take it wherever you want to go. It can be about whatever you want it to be about. And failure to achieve something you wanted isn't a total loss. It's data for your ongoing experiment. So I recently read that this idea that failure is data keeps you from acknowledging failure, and it like de-emphasizes how important failure is for continued growth. And it keeps you from recognizing that failure is absolutely unavoidable and it's a vital part of creating anything new. And I just disagree with that. I think that by saying that failure is data, you're not negating the pain or the unavoidableness of failure. You're just reframing it so you have another way of looking at it. It's not that it makes failure less hard, but it makes it so that it's not only hard. Because failure is hard, it sucks, it's painful, it's wretched, but it's also some other things. It's also educational, or it can be. It's also clarifying, or it can be. But if you choose not to see it as data, then it's only hard. It's not only hard. You can see the value and you can learn what you need to learn in order to move forward. So let's get real specific. Some of our failures this last year, and I say ours because a lot of these are me and Jay together. My book got rejected from about a dozen publishers. I got that email in July, and that means it's not going to get a traditional book deal. So that sucks because I spent a lot of hours writing a fantastic book proposal, and I really fell in love with the book topic. I could see myself signing that book deal. I could see myself writing that book. I thought that is how I was going to spend last year. Not so much. The second failure that I want to talk about, there are many more than just these three, but I set out to do a company-sponsored challenge with my essential oil business where I was going to hold at least 6 live classes, like in-person classes per month. I was going to travel a couple trips every month, and basically February through June was going to be a massive period of growth in my business. But I failed the first month. So I made a fatal planning flaw in my first month. And it was the kind of thing where like you have to meet the requirements each month to continue on the next month and to get your travel reimbursed. But I made a fatal planning flaw that first month. Some people who had committed to me completely let me down and flaked out. And I didn't recover my confidence or my resilience in time to fix it. Now, it's really easy for me to think, and I thought this way for a couple months, that I flunked out because of other people's not doing what they said they were going to do. But the fact is, I didn't recover quickly, and I wasn't flexible and resilient. And that really sucked. So the third failure, the comic book shop. Jay and I spent all of 2017 working on buying this comic book shop. He worked there starting in April of 2016 in exchange for money off the sales price, like without pay, and buying it fell through. So the owner didn't give us what we needed him to give us in terms of paperwork until it was so late, and we were so exhausted. We were really sick of it. The whole process was frustrating. And then even though the banks really loved us and came up with all these different ways we could get the deal, we couldn't make it happen. We couldn't make it happen because of the paperwork, because of how the paperwork was filled out, not by us. And that sucked. And it completely threw our what we're doing next completely out of the window. So we had to figure out what Jay's doing to still make his dream happen, because this is still a dream. Like the dream didn't go away. It's just this avenue of the dream went away. And how is he going to make that happen, but with a totally new avenue that we don't see yet? So we're still figuring that out. We're looking for a solution that works for the life we want to live in the short term and reaching our goals in the long term. And frankly, that's sometimes hard to balance. It's hard to figure out like what he should be doing to help move that dream forward, giving us both the life we want to live now and helping make that a reality long term. So it sucks. And I share all of that with you so that you can see, even after being in business for 12 years, even after being self-employed for 9 years, even after building a yarn company and a teaching business that has met all of my goals and all of my income needs, I still failed at 3 big business goals in the last 12 months. And that is more big goals that I have tried for in almost any year. So I should be proud of myself for trying, but that's also then more failures than I've had in a 3-month period or a 12-month period. And I don't know, years and years. So these failures completely rearranged my life, what I thought I was going to be doing in the future, like the future in 2018, but also the future in like 2020 and 2022. It rearranged my expectations, and it just changed what I thought was going to happen in the future. Now, I don't want you to worry about me. I know every time I talk about my failures, I get messages that are like, it's okay. I hope you're okay. Are you all right? The thing is, I'm working on learning lessons from these failures. The other thing is that a lot of these failures happened 2, 6, 8 months ago. So I've processed. I always process before I bring it to the podcast. So I'm working on learning the lessons from the adventures, and I do see them as adventures. Now that some time has passed, I can see that these were 3 things I was really afraid to do and that I really wanted to do, but I was afraid to try. And I'm so glad that I tried them. I don't wish that I had not gone through it at all. I'm glad we went through it. And I'm really glad we tried to see what was possible, and then that I learned what I learned through the process of seeing what was possible. So for example, when it comes to the book, I learned how to write a book proposal. I didn't know how to do that. I have fully outlined in a planned book that I could write and self-publish if I wanted, with maybe 3 to 4 months of writing on it regularly. And for the travel challenge, I did still take 3 trips that grew my business tremendously. On those 3 trips, I saw hundreds of people that I love and that I enjoy spending time with. I learned that I'm capable of doing a lot of classes in a very short amount of time. I'm capable of organizing something like this. And I learned all of these things that are going to make it even better in upcoming trips. Also, when it comes to the comic book shop, Jay and I both know so much more about the whole process. We know how to write a business plan. We know who to talk to locally. We know who to talk to with comic book distributor. Because we were doing this last year, we went to the Comics Pro, which is a conference specifically for comic book shop owners. We met lots of people there. We met the distributor. We learned tons. And I've seen Jay grow so much in his business knowledge and his confidence so much during this process. This was absolutely the first step in making his long-term dream come true. It just wasn't the first step in the way we thought. We thought it was the first step and the conclusion, but it was just the first step. And without having moved forward on this, without having taken the risk to have him work there back in 2016, without having taken the risk of putting together the plan and spending all that time and going to all those banks, without having taken all these risks, we wouldn't even know what was possible and we wouldn't know how to go about it. So we learned tons, and there's no downside to the risk. It's not like we risked our home or the roof over our head or food or our puppy's health. No, there's no downside other than not getting the outcome we wanted. So that brings me to my lesson. Failure never hurts as much as you think. We are all really freaked out to try things because what if it doesn't work out? Well, I can tell you, learn from my experience. After things don't work out, it's really simple. Now you know. What if it doesn't work out? Well, then it won't have worked out. You'll be fine. So now you do the next thing with the data you gathered from this trial. That's what if it doesn't work out, is you just do it again in a different way. You do a different thing. You make slight changes. You go a different path. You realize this door's open, so you go look for another door, another path to another door. So failure doesn't hurt as much as you think, and it's all data that's going to help move to the next stage. So the next lesson is everything is everything. And this is something I teach my own people all the time. I advise my students about this constantly, and I did not take my own advice. So just in the past few weeks, I realized this was problem isn't the right word. It's just a lesson that I'm ready to like learn and change. So everything is everything. It all belongs together. Everything you're doing is what you're doing. It's all you. It all belongs together in almost every situation. So let me explain. Last year, when I started my new essential oil business, I wanted to create a site that focused on essential oils. So I created essentialenthusiasm.com. I thought, well, my website, which I just refer to as TS, it's Swiger.com. TS is crafter and maker advice for their business, helping makers and crafters in their business, right? So if I'm going to talk about essential oils and mental well-being, I need to put that on a different site. And it's where I put my webinars, my workshops, my live events, and I imagine I might even blog there. I started a first version of a podcast, Essential Enthusiasm. I got, I think, 9 or 10 episodes in, and I wasn't able to keep it up. It was would have required a lot of organization and systematization that I didn't have time to put into it. But then Jolie had the idea, we should take a weekly date to talk about books and mindset. We were having some conversation about something else. And we were like, we should do this weekly and we should make it a podcast because people would like to hear us talk about books and mindset and stuff. And so we decided to make that the Essential Enthusiasm podcast. And now we're many weeks, 6 or 8 weeks in. I absolutely love it. It's fantastic. And that podcast is awesome. I love making it each week. And it makes sense for the podcast to have its own website and Instagram and Facebook page, right? Like a show needs its own place for you to put the show notes. But in my mind, it was super divided. Like the only thing that could go on TS is just for makers and crafters in business. So that means I couldn't include any other aspect of my life. I debated posting not for business things on my Facebook and my Instagram. Guys, my Facebook and Instagram is just Tara Swiger. Like if that's not the place for me to post my thoughts about what's going on in my life, I don't know where it is. But I had this conception that like only stuff for makers and artists in business could go there, not mental well-being stuff, not mindset stuff. I had to poll you guys to get you to tell me you wanted to hear about the books I was reading each month. I thought on the podcast I should only ever talk about business books, not all the other books. And if I hadn't polled you on Instagram, I wouldn't know you want to hear about all of it. So Essential Enthusiasm is now the podcast about books and life. And because I have this other stuff I want to talk about, this stuff about foster care, this stuff about lifestyle stuff, this stuff about mental well-being and mindset and I don't know, recipes, and like we're replacing all of our cleaners in the house with green cleaners. And there's like a lot of stuff that I chat about kind of occasionally on Instagram stories that I would like to live in a more long-term place, not just disappear in 24 hours on Instagram stories or not make a million really long hours long highlights on Instagram stories. So I started my blog on YouTube. Where should I put that vlog? I started to flirt with the idea of a third site, which is madness. So just a few weeks ago, I realized, holy crap, my site is my name. My site is for me. That's me. All the parts of Swiger that I want to share publicly should go on that site. Info about how to get essential oils from me, my weekly vlog, any articles that I want to write about fostering, adoption, living, whatever. It all goes in one place. And oh, if you're hearing me talk about fostering, I have done a video that you will find on my site, my YouTube, my Facebook, about this, announcing this, talking about this, answering your questions about it, okay? So go check more of that out there. I'll link it up in the show notes. But like I said, it makes sense for a podcast, which has weekly show notes, to have its own site, but it doesn't make sense for me to divide up the things I'm doing with my time and my energy and my business into a bunch of different silos. Does that make sense? It should all go on my home on the internet. If I'm going to start writing long written blog posts, you, my listeners, my readers, don't want me to post it on another third site you have to go hunt down. You want it to all be in the same place. So something like a podcast has a theme and a topic. So don't fret. Explore Your Enthusiasm is going to keep being a show for women in business. Essential Enthusiasm is going to keep being a conversations about book and life and mindset. And my home on the internet and my emails for people who have subscribed to my home on the internet is going to be all of me that I feel like sharing. So I don't know that I'm going to write a lot of new blog post articles. I don't know if I'll have the time or the inclination, but right now when it hits me and I want to, or I want to do like a random book review, or I want to share a recipe, it all goes on my website. So everything is everything. So I hope that that helps you, because that is something so many people ask me about. Like, should I break this all up into different sites? No, put it all on one site. Now, the third lesson I want to talk about is the answer to a stuck place is almost always to trust yourself more. So the book that didn't get picked up by publishers is called, working title, Trust Yourself, Love Your Business. It's all about how trusting yourself is the key to creating a business you really love. So in order to explain this lesson, we have to start with this thing. We just have to acknowledge that starting a new business is really hard. So in April of 2017, I started my doTERRA business. And while now it's about 50 to 75% of what my other business income is, and by the way, that's shocking because I worked on TS income for 8 years. And now my whole new business, which is only a year old, is about 70%. It's almost there. They're almost the same. That's something we're celebrating. But that doesn't mean that it's easy. It's been hard. It's been hard work. I had to learn to do a bunch of things I've been avoiding in my other business. I had to lead in a whole new way. I had to commit to showing up in a whole new way, to commit to following up in a whole new way. In order to grow, I had to grow. And that's really hard. And this has been true every year of my business, whether I was starting a new business, working in my business that had been established for a couple years. Always the answer is, if my business is going to grow, I have to grow. And I'm really, really glad I had this experience, because it put me back in the place where so many of you are right now. Just learning how to do business, just starting to get an income from it, just learning all of the different moving parts that are going to go into you having a successful business. And one of the ways that I had to grow, and one of the ways many of you have to grow in your business, is trusting yourself. You see, when you start a new business, you just want people to tell you what to do. I know, because you guys tell me, just tell me what to do. You want to just like have an equation that you follow the equation, you get the same results every time, no matter what. You want to trust others to make your business happen for you. But that won't work, because even a business model that is definitely going to work, which not everybody has business models that are definitely going to work. You might not have pricing or product or marketing that's definitely going to work. Even one that's definitely going to work and has fewer moving parts won't work unless you do the work, obvious, unless you make it your own. And that making it your own involves trusting yourself. You have to trust yourself that you'll learn what you need to do. You need to trust yourself that you can figure anything out. You need to trust yourself that you can do it your way and it will work, or you'll find another way. You need to trust yourself more than you trust someone else's judgments about how things should be done. And I wanted to share this as a lesson, not just because I know all of you guys need to hear it, but because you guys, I've been talking about trusting yourself for at least the last 5 years, and yet I totally forgot to. For a few months, it was right around the time that I committed to the challenge, the travel challenge, I tried to build my new business in a way that someone else recommended that I did it, and I judged myself. I judged myself harshly every time I didn't get the results that I thought I should get, or every time I didn't do the thing I thought that someone else should do. And this someone else is kind of like a vague someone else, it's not one particular person. But that made me miserable, and it made me nearly give up. Why? Because it's no fun to build someone else's business. It's no fun to build a business the way someone else tells you to. It is no fun to give up your smarts and your experimentation and your sense of adventure to just have something safe and easy. And it's hard. It feels like working at an office job, but doing something else someone else is telling you to do. This is true for everybody's business. No matter what your business model is, you have to figure out how you can do it in a way that's going to be suited to you and your strengths and the things you actually like spending time on. So this lesson is actually part of what I talked about last year. Stop giving an F about what other people think of you. Don't judge yourself based on their standards. And it's also about trusting yourself to do it more your way. Trust yourself to go about things the way you want to go about things, in a way that's suited to your personality, in a way that is fun for you, to do more of what you really love, and to look at it all as an experiment. Trust yourself that if you look at it as an experiment and you commit to continue to learn and change and grow, you'll build a business you love. If you just turn that over to someone else and you trust someone else more than you will not build a business you love. I was reminded of that for a couple months, and I know lots of you have been there as well. So that's what I've learned this year. I'm sure there's more, but I had to wrap it up sometime. If you've enjoyed the show and you want to send me some birthday love to thank me for this ongoing show, the best way to do that is to leave a review and to share it with your friends. So to do that, hit subscribe, whether it's on your podcast app or you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to my channel. And then go in on iTunes and leave a review. Or if you're watching on YouTube, give this video a thumbs up. Then click the little share button on the video or in your player and share it. If you don't see the share button, go to tarswiger.com/podcast211, copy the link and post it on Facebook or Twitter. Let people know you love the podcast. Tag me so I know you did that. If you leave a review, of course, I'll see it and I will appreciate it so much. So, yeah, that is the best way for you to tell me happy birthday, is to share the podcast with somebody else. This is my favorite thing I do each week. We're going to have lots more lessons about business and marketing and mindset and how to build a business you love in the next year. Thank you so much for being with me this year. Thank you for all of your sweet birthday messages in all the places and for all your sweet reviews. Hope you have a fantastic, enthusiastic day.